Hello, welcome again to another unit of this master. I know that you are watching all the units, so I'm very happy because when you arrive to the video class, you know what you have been seeing in these units. Okay. In these 3 units, I'm going to be centered in the grammar, only in the grammar. Now this is the middle of the course, of the subject, and you know that you have to be doing listening and reading and writing. You are doing everything, and when you connect to the video class, you are doing everything. But I'm going to center these 3 presentations only in grammar. Okay. In this unit, it's about reported speech. Probably you remember when you were at school what reported speech was. Okay, so it was something that happened in the past and you explained in the present. Okay, something that happened in the past. I always say the same. Don't think about English like a formula that you change one tense into another one tense into another one. It's try to see it like a communicative tool. So when do we use reported speech? We use reported speech, for example, we use it many times in our life, in Spanish even, is when, for example, you hear something, a gossip of someone, and you tell a friend of yours, okay, someone said that. In another occasion, very common, for example, you see a film, and you tell what happened in the film later on, okay? These are 2 examples of the use of reported speech, but what we're going to see here, it's when or how to use it, grammatically correct, okay? So there are 3 kinds of reported speech structures. Are reported statements, as you can see here, reported questions, and orders or requests. It's when you ask for something. And at the end of the presentation, I tell you, for example, time expressions with reported speech that probably you know. It's, for example, when you say tomorrow, I'm going to speak now. Okay, tomorrow I go to the cinema tomorrow. And when you are saying later what happened or what I said, you cannot say tomorrow. You can say it the day after. Okay, so these are the things we are going to see today. Okay, remember something. The direct speech, it's with inverted commas, and it's something that is said in that moment. So I'm going home, for example, here. John said. Okay. Later I will explain the difference between tell and say because you confuse sometimes. And the reported speech or indirect speech is when somebody wants to tell someone that that person said. John said he was going home. Remember that that can be omitted. Okay? Why? Because the next sentence, he was, starts with a subject. If the next sentence starts with a subject, you can omit that. Okay. So, as I told you, there are 3 kinds of structures: reported statements, when something is said, questions, and orders. Okay, so these are the statements. In the statement, the only thing you have to change is the tense. For example, if you say, I like, when you report the speech, she said she likes ice cream. Okay, or if it's something that that person said in the past, you have to say she said in the past that she liked in the past. Okay. This is what I told you before. Be careful with say and tell. We normally confuse and you say me. Okay, but say me is not correct. I'm going to tell you a trick, and I will repeat the trick in our class, in our video class. When there is someone, for example, me, you, him, them, a boy, or teacher, you have to put tell. And if there is no one, it's said. For example, tell me the truth, he said. Okay? So this is the only way of not confusing when to put to or when not to put to. For example, these cases, John, I will be late. John said he would be late. Okay? You cannot say said me. This is very bad. Or you can say John told me that he was going to be late. So if you pay attention with the verb tell, you have another person, me. So you cannot use say. As you can see here in this example, that is between brackets, and this means that you can omit it. As I told you before, when the second sentence starts with a subject, hey, you can omit it. Okay. You have here's some more examples about say and tell. Tell is not used before questions. He told me. Have we met before? No. He said. Okay. He said. Say never has a personal direct object. John said me that he would be late. John told that he would be late. The correct one should be John said to me could be late, or John told me. Okay. Here you have say to, and you can say yes, but you told us that when it say is when there is no person with, but you can say to me, but with the intention of not confusing it, I recommend you to use say with no people and tell with people. Anyway, if you don't understand something of my presentation, you ask me questions when we are connected, okay? For example, you have here more examples about say and tell, okay? Julie said that she would come to the party. I said I was going to bed early. He told me that. They told John. Okay, more examples that are very clear. There are some statements that you have a change of the tense. For example, if the verb is in the past, this is what I told you before. I like ice cream, she said. So this happened in the past. She said that, or without that, she liked ice cream. So this is a moment that you have to know when to change the verb. And you have some examples in the following slide. In this one. Here is a bit reduced, but I will upload the presentation and I will upload the class presentation that you know, as you are experts now in this subject and you have seen the half of the presentations, you know that I always upload the other presentation, that the class presentation is the one that have all the exercises, okay? So when it's present simple, it changes to the past. When it's present continuous, it changes to the past continuous. For example, I am living in London. She said she was living. But this is logical because we do the same in Spanish. Yo dijo que vivía, okay? Dijo que estaba haciendo. So it's the same change. So think, if you cannot think of the tenses, think in Spanish and probably you find it better. Present perfect, I bought a car. She said she had bought a car because it was in the past. I was walking, and she said that she had been walking. Okay, don't change it. Don't put it in the same tense. She was walking, had been walking, had taken, had been taken. Okay. With will, these are the modals. Do you remember the modals that we saw them in the first unit? With the modals, you cannot change many things. For example, I'll see you later. She said she would see me later. Normally, will changes to would, but would stays the same. I would help you, but she said that she would help me. Okay, don't confuse and don't put it in the past. Could is a past and it stays the same. This is because it's a modal. Okay. Shall normally can change in would or should, okay? Should it stays the same. Might, I should call my mother, had to. I cannot see an example with might here. Well, but we will see examples of might in the class if you want. Must, I must study at the weekend. Remember that in the modals of the first unit, I told you that must, when you speak about the past, you cannot put must, okay? So when you change the reported speech of must, you have to put, she said that she had to study, okay? Do you remember that? Okay. You have more examples of statements. The sky is blue, so it's when something is general truth, okay, something that we know, scientific facts, for example, or el cielo azul, so this is a scientific fact or a true, a general truth. The sky is blue. She said that the sky is blue because it's you cannot change that the sky was blue because the sky is blue today, okay. So in this case, you can put both, or is or was, but only in the case that they are true or general truths, okay? My name is Cecilia, she said. She said her name is Cecilia because Cecilia hasn't changed the name. And now we go for the questions, okay? If you think of the questions in Spanish, it's the same, exactly the same. ¿De dónde eres? Dijo que de dónde eras, okay? ¿Quieres venir? Preguntó si quería venir. So it's the same change. We will see the examples. For example, where do you live? This is a direct one. She asked me where I lived. Be careful because when you pass from the direct to the indirect, you have to omit do. Okay, because do, remember that it's only for questions. What's the time? He asked me. He asked me what the time was, or what time it was, okay? Remember, very important that you always make mistakes and you shouldn't confuse. When you pass from direct to indirect a question, you have to change the tenses. If you pay attention here, it's where, what's the time, because it's a question, is where the verb to be. But in the indirect one, he asked me what time it was, okay? No, what's the time or what was the time. It's not what was the time, it's what time it was. It seems a stupid thing, but it's important. Okay, you have to change the order. You have to change the order of the words. For example, you have more examples here. Where's the post office, please? She asked me where the post office was. In the last unit of this subject, you will see more indirect sentences, and this is something very easy because when you put something before the question, for example, she asked me, you have to change the order. Where is the post office? Where the post office was. If you put in the exercise or in your exam, where was the post office, is wrong, okay? Because in English, when you speak English, it's wrong too. What are you doing? She asked me what I was doing. Who was that fantastic man? She asked me who that fantastic man was or who that fantastic man had been. Okay, you can put it in both ways. How are you? She asked me how I was. You cannot say she asked me how I was. She asked me, sorry, how was I? It's how I was. You know that there are two kinds of questions if you think of the basic grammar of that you have learned in school. One is the yes/no questions, and the other one is the WH. Okay. If the yes/no questions are the ones that you expect an answer with yes or no. For example, do you like chocolate? Yes, I do, or no, I don't. So that's why they are called yes/no questions. She asked me if or whether. Okay, so with the yes/no questions, normally you put, as you can see in this slide, if or whether. Do you love me? He asked me if I loved him. So if you think about your language, it's not much explanation, grammar explanation, is what you do in Spanish too. So when it is a yes/no question, you put if or whether. Whether. Pay attention how you spell weather. Okay, it's W-H-E-T-H-E-R. It's not the weather, W-E-A, that is el tiempo. Okay. And remember that you can put if, but if is a conditional, so it should be used whether instead of if. But well, it's the same if you use one or the other one. Okay. And now the requests or orders. You know that in English you have always to put subject with the with any verb, with the exception of imperatives. Imperatives is when you order something. Cállate, for example, is shut up. So you don't use the subject, okay? So, and when we transform this reporter's request into indirect one, we make a big mistake. For example, when you ask people, me dijo que cerrara la ventana, so, and they say it in English, he told me that I close a window, but this is wrong because subjunctive doesn't exist in English. So you have always to follow the same structure. She asked me or him or us or them to, with an infinitive, close a window. For example, close a window, please. You asked me to close a window. Could you close a window? It's the same, okay? Let's see these examples of reporter request. Please help me. She asked me to help her. You can omit the please, okay? She asked me to help her. Okay, can you see that it's always the same structure? In this case, it's always ask, the same verb, and me, the same person. But please, when you have to transform this, try to use other verbs. Ask me, order me, require from me, etc. Please don't smoke. She asked me not to smoke. Could you bring my book? She asked me to bring. So don't say she asked me if I could bring. She asked me to bring her book, because ask is pedir, okay? Could you pass a milk? She asked me to pass a milk. There are other requests or orders that is just a difference in meaning. It's not an order, it's an offer or request. But it's only the meaning that changes, but the structure is the same. Would you like a cigarette? He asked me if I would like a cigarette. Would you pass a cigarette? He asked me to pass him a cigarette, but it's the same change. With not, when it's something negative, pay attention to the structure. Please don't be late. She asked us not to be late, okay, not to. So you have to remember this structure, not to be late. Orders or commands is the same structure. Sit down. She told me to sit down. Don't stop. He told me not to stop. Don't go. He told me not to go, okay? Report the orders or commands. Go to bed. He told me to go to bed. As you can see here, it's not him, but the child. He told the child to go to bed. He told her not to worry. Okay, I'm not going to you to get bored. And this is a bit small here, but as I'm going to upload the presentation to your Blackboard, you can see them better. When you transform the direct into the indirect, remember that you cannot say today. If I am saying something today, and you are going to tell another person what I said, is not today, it was that day, okay? Tonight is that night. Yesterday it was the day before, last night, the night before, etc. Tomorrow, the day after, the following day. Have a look at these and pay attention when you transform the sentences, because you always forget. And you say, she said that she wanted to go to the cinema tomorrow. It's not tomorrow. It was some days ago, so the day after. These are some examples about what I was telling you. I will see you tomorrow. She said she will see me the next day. Today is that day. This film is the film, or that film. I met her about 3 months ago. He said he had met her about 3 months before. Remember that ago, hace, okay? But if you are going to speak about that later, it's 3 months before. And this is what I told you. Try not to use always ask, say, tell, ask, say, tell, okay? I try to use different verbs, like, for example, this one. Oh dear, she said, I'm terribly sorry. In order to have a richer language in English, try to use other verbs. For example, she apologized for being late. I know a good restaurant, why don't we go there? He suggested that we should go to a restaurant. Okay, so there are more verbs. You can hear more verbs, but verbs that take infinitive: advise, invite, offer, adjourn, apologize, insist, on. And verbs followed by indirect speech: agree, announce, boast, claim, concede. This is important because sometimes you ask me in the classes, shall I put an infinitive or a gerund after a verb? So here you have some because there are many. Some verbs that take infinitive because you have to. Want is not here, and want is, it takes an infinitive. Or gerund, for example, apologize, or mind, would you mind opening? So have a look at these ones, so in order not to make mistakes. We are finishing now. You have more verbs using reporting, announce, or warn. For example, don't go near the dog, she told him. She warned not to go near the dog. Okay, and the last slide is this one. After the meal, he said, please don't argue, I'm going to pay. Okay, she apologized for not writing. As you can see in this presentation, you have not a slide with an exercise, because you are going to upload an exercise that I'm going to tell you. Okay, what you are going to do for the exercise to check that you have seen the presentation is do a transformation of direct speech with a statement, another sentence with a question, and another sentence with an order or command. Only 3 sentences, and upload them to Blackboard. But long sentences, you put statement, direct, indirect, question, direct, indirect, order, direct, indirect. Okay, and you upload it before our next class. And that's all for now. I'll see you in next class. Thank you very much.